Happy Independence Day, Nigerians, as we clock 59 years in our political history in respect of the independence we've got from 1960 till date. I'm Philip Omo Gupon. TMI edition Tuesday happens to be a very special kind because it is in commemoration of the 59th year of our independence anniversary and discussing issues pertaining to our independence. Nigeria at 59, prospects and challenges is what we're going to be looking at, and I have an array of distinguished guests that will be looking at this with me. Starting from my immediate left, I have one-time National Publicity Secretary, Assistant National Publicity Secretary of the UPN from 1979 to 1983, and he was the founder of the UPN Bender State Chapter, and he also served in late Professor Bruce Ali's government as Commissioner for Agriculture and Natural Resources. And I make bold to welcome Eddie Osifo, who is also a custodian of the law, a legal practitioner. Thanks for coming, sir.
Thank you very much.
And next to him, I have an erudite and articulate lecturer, Professor Kingsley Omoyibo. Professor Kingsley Omoyibo is a lecturer in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Benin. Thanks for coming, Professor.
Thanks, Lord.
And also next I have Dr. Isaiah Osifo, and he is also a lecturer from Benedict University, Okada. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, straight away, I choose to start with you, Professor Kingsley Omoyibo. We got the presidential speech, and the president did make bold to speak about the achievements so far of his administration, and also promised that there is already in the stream the creation of a new ministry that will be in charge of humanitarian affairs, social development, and disaster management. Do you see this as key in terms of the speech made and hope for Nigerians in the days ahead?
Thank you very much, Amoro Kigmo. I always see every October there is nothing like Happy Independence Day in my dictionary. I would say Happy New Month of October, because these are always ritual exercises. Every year is the same thing. If you look at the speeches over time, you discover that every October 1, you are promised there is a hope and they say happy. But I say, if there is happiness, what the new ministry is talking about, what is happy about the roads, what is happy about energy, what is happy about, if you say happy independence, what's happy about housing, what's happy about all of this? There are many issues that bother us. What's happy about insecurity? What's happy about the educational system? What's happy about, 3 square meals a day for the common man? What's happy about all of this? And we're talking about creating further ministries and all of that.
Yes,
I am saying that speeches are all the speeches by the president for the past 4 years. Now we are entering the next phase of his administration. It has always been on the same, template. And so I don't see anything new. I don't see hope for now for the common man.
Okay, but the president did say that 600 billion naira for capital projects.
It's always
he directed that it should be released from now to 3 months.
It's always
so that these projects are.
It's always a directive.
Okay.
Billions are always released. The effectuability of these billions that are released. How do you get them? Do you see them? How? You're seeing flood everywhere. You see travel from here to Ekpoma, travel from here to Aoshi, travel from here to Lagos. You are telling me that billions are always released. What happened to all the billions released in the past? For these same projects, for these same years gone by? I don't think we should be irrational to the extent of queuing in new ministries, is making new monies for new people. We have ministries that could take care of all of that. When you are expanding that, you are creating jobs for the boys, not for Nigerians.
Okay, I'll come back to you. But Eddie Osifo, you've been in politics and looking at the UPN, looking at the start, even the constitutional development we had that gave birth to the 1960 independence of Nigeria. The Macpherson Constitution particularly seemed to bring about the recommendation of Nigeria as a federal republic. Do you see that as a wrong footing based on the present and contemporary challenges we have?
Thank you very much for that question. I don't think it was a wrong footing, but the implementation has not proved right, has not proved for the creation of those things
right.
Actually, a federation, it ought to be a true federation. It's not a true federation as it is now, as it has been implemented.
Okay, but according to the Constitution of Macpherson 1951,
it was correct.
It was
correct,
to be a true federation.
Yeah, it was correct Constitution.
Okay.
And if they implemented it correctly, it would have been a true federation where we have element of independence at regional level, and regions can practice their fundamental human rights. They can practice whatever they want to practice at their pace and not at the pace of the federal government.
Okay.
But that was disrupted by military interventions, by military interregnums, and the whole thing was distorted. Then the power now appeared to be centered around the center of the government,
okay,
instead of being devolved to the regions or states. But it was better devolved in those days, but before the military interventions. But eventually it turned up to become one hierarchy.
Okay.
Yes.
Some argue that the regional politics, the regional aspect of the Constitution by Macpherson is the bedrock upon which we have tribal sentiments and ethnicity.
Yes. Yes.
Which is a negative influence on our political system.
Yes, it is. It would have been better, but for the nature of Nigerians appear to lay more emphasis to incline towards their tribal leanings than national leaning, or national interest.
Okay.
They narrow their interest according to their own tribe, in accordance with the wishes
of the primordial. Instead of the civic.
Instead of the civic. So they appear not to be looking at the country as one. But even when it was 3 regions, the country was more looked at as one than it is now.
Okay.
I think the reason for that is that people, when the states were split into bits and pieces, people now became more conscious of their own area than they were when it was region, when it was bigger.
Okay. Okay, let me come back to you, Dr. Ezeal Osifo.
Thank you.
In 60 years of the British rule in Nigeria, looking up from 1900 till 1960, we had this rulership over 250 tribes. And looking at that as it is, there seemed to be, as is being argued, that the British rule was like setting one region against the other. Do you see that as playing out in our present political system?
Well, thank you. When you are conceptualizing the political system of any nation, in most cases, people make the mistake of trying to exclude the factors of individual psychology,
okay,
and the variables of societal sociology. I'm happy a professor of sociology is here. Now, for you to get the correct perception of a political system, you need to have an in-depth study of the individual psychology and the society. It is the interaction of the individual and the society that brings about politics and political system. The question of tribes is inferior to the psychology of the individual, because you're going to have an individual before the tribe. And that is why today, in a civilized system, the outcome of a political system is not consequent upon the tribe, but consequent upon the development of the political system.
In a civilized system.
Yes, yes. So you now
which we have not got.
Yeah, you now trace the political development from the individual from a state of nature in Thomas Hobbes' theory.
Yes.
You're just in a society as an individual. What are your feelings? What are your aspirations to survive, your well-being, and to conquer your environment? Now, the philosophy of the state of nature was not heading in the society. Society now means you are not the only person in that environment. You have other persons in that environment. So, yes, you still have your natural instincts and your nurture. What you want as a nature and what you want get by the basis of the environment, which is the nurture. And you're not interacting with other people. Therefore, then came John Locke's social contract, or Thomas Hobbes, or Rousseau, general way.
Yes.
Now, we don't have a system whereby I will be accommodated in my own feelings. Professor will be accommodated. Pastor Joseph will be accommodated. But we live in the same society. When you accommodate my interest and you accommodate his interest and his interest, we come to a society, and in the process, there is an emergence of an institution. That institution is to be catered for by all of us. And for the institution to take care of us, we have to cater for it and establish rules that will be binding on all of us. So it is not the tribe, it is not the colonialism. It is that we have a system emerging for the Nigerian society.
It is not the colonialism.
It is not colonization or colonialism that is our problem, or tribalism that is a problem, or religion is our problem. The system that emerges from this sociological framework of the Nigerian state is weak and it's not be taken care of. And until you have that resilient political system that will be answerable to my own need, to your need, and to everybody's need, then you don't have this process which the lamentation of the prophets are just expressed here. And of course, as a political scientist, we get frustrated every day when we look at the political theories in the classroom. But when you express in the society, yes, they're going to have varied opinions. That again depends upon their makeup, upon their level of understanding. But you will look at true political theories and the emergence of states, compared to, drawing the comparative analysis to those who are supposed to be our contemporaries in terms of nationhood, we're really very, very backward. That is the truth. Now, the backwardness is not because of tribe or religion. It is because we are not talking about the political system. The political system must be resilient, must be impartial, must be objective, must be developed to take care of what it needs. And that's why I totally agree with the prof that, the ministry is good to create more jobs. But the job that we're going to do is supposed to be done by existing ministries. Ministry of Happiness, if a man will be happy, when you travel from Lagos to Prince to Lagos and the roads are smooth, you're not going to attack the kidnappers. Happiness comes naturally. A man's going to be happy when you arrive, the environment is beautiful. Happiness comes. I traveled to Abuja last time. When I was entering the city, I met my own federal capital territory. No street light on any street in Abuja. And visitors are started to come in with the vessels. And if you are a foreigner, you are flying to a federal capital of another producing country, and there are no street lights, and you see our policemen standing by the station waving their hands, you don't even have traffic light in a federal capital territory. They just say, no, for you to be sad that there's something wrong with my country. Look, go to Kenya, go to Singapore, go to Ghana, go to Ivory Coast. What is happening? What is wrong with us? Go to Botswana. These are African countries. Go to Namibia. We're not even talking of European countries now, American developed countries. We're talking of our neighbor African countries have all left us behind because we have refused to take care of our political system. And how do you take a political system? The individual must be a conscientized enough to know his responsibility or her responsibility and must appreciate the pitfalls and the backwardness, or to appreciate the reality of our environment and confront these facts. We're just joking. We're just joking. I wrote an article last week and somebody tried to accuse me. We go to UN and the president goes to the United Nations. He goes with crowds of governors. For goodness sake, what have governors gone to do in the United Nations General Assembly? They travel over the weekend. We don't even have a regulation that can restrict our governors. That you should not be leaving your state every day. The governors are flying private jet. The British private are flying British Airways when it's trying to travel outside the country. What regulations? Local government is comatose. In the 59 years, our local government is not functioning. How will your nation function when the local government is not functioning? The local government is the foundation of any nation. In America, in Britain, in military system, in American presidential system, it is the local government that is the root of development. Ours is not functioning. They can even pay salary, they can do road, they can do school. Somebody has to consider them. Revenue is considered at the center. Up to now, we cannot even review our revenue formula to go down to it, try to address the classroom. Why are we still having 56% of Nigerian revenue for the federal government? State 26 and local government just barely 20. And the jobs are done in the local government. You can't have security when there's no security in the local government.
Okay, thank you. I'll pause you there. Now to you, Professor Kingsley Omoibo. We have this precarious situation in our hands, and just like what he said, Dr. Isaiah Osifo, there has been successive governments that tried to grab or have a handle on the solutions to the problems bedeviling Nigeria, but it seems not been able to do that. Now, what do you see as the right approach, the right model for the present government to bring about the objectives and aspirations of the people in order to bring about a better welfare?
If you want me to use one word, commitment to leadership, sincerity, honesty. But let me use...
Did we miss that from the beginning?
Of course.
Yes. From 1960?
From ab initio.
Okay.
If you look at the Singaporean model, which is already, flying, a reference was made to Nigeria, how Nigeria even strengthened or assisted, or probably they copied or imitated models of Nigeria in the early 60s. They even borrowed some of our own ideas in terms of pragmatic ideas. But let me come back to what Dr. Isaiah Osifo mentioned. He used one word: we lack what you call political culture. We have not actually established. When he says political system, I call it political culture. But we are driving the same
direction.
In the same direction. Unfortunately, look, a poor man here, a poverty-stricken Nigerian in the South, in the Southeast, Southwest, North Central, Northeast, Northwest. It's a common denominator. Poverty is poverty all over. It has nothing to do with what you call, tribes. And I don't like the word tribe. We say ethnic nationalities. People believe, that we are being shortchanged. I am being deprived. That's why he used the word. We settled for what you call the social contract. And the social contract revolves around strong institutions. And let me tell you one thing. You said release 600 billion within three months. When of course you and I know, in this same country, that the speech, like I said, is ritualistic every year. This is someone who will tell us that you are confronting corruption. Who is the highest profile corrupt individual or politician that has been taken up and incarcerated? No.
Okay, but he just said it. Don't you think that would be pessimistic for you?
Excuse me, sir. This is 4 years running the ball. 4 years. And these are consistent issues. We were meant to thrive on 3 tripods of corruption, number 1, confronting insecurity, number 2, then, of course, the economy, which means the economy should drive in such a way that at least you and I should have experienced minimal,
Okay, but you still have the
let me finish. Look, the 30,000 minimum wage is still an albatross for implementation by the federal. I don't think when they said from level 1 to 6, and of course they are saying that you are renegotiating what has been negotiated. I mean, this is a country where, you see, we get frustrated every day, and that gets the obscene thing theory that doctor mentioned. And Daddy just mentioned it. When I said this problem started long ago, when people give kudos to the Azikiweris and the Buharis, you discover that it was the foundation of what you call the terrible ethnic sentiment, or what you call, struggle for resources. If we get back to the McPherson Constitution that Daddy mentioned here, and you say regions, all regions, you try do what if it is true federation. Regions, you exploit your resources, get the revenues, pay to the center.
Okay.
A bit of it. Then, of course, let's now drive on here how we now allocate the others to development. I don't still think it may work out because, like, I will still concur with the idea that we must work on our individual psychology. Because if I get to power, like I said, expanding our ministry, some people want to use it to what? To up their own economy, their own personal economy, and that of their family. So, in fact, we've lost hope.
Okay, you made mention of the fact that the minimum wage,
yes,
as promised, is still being dragged.
Yes.
And if you got what the president did say, even in the challenge we had over the recession and how we came out from it, and we've established about 9 growths out of it, don't you think that the president needs more time?
How much time does it need? When, of course, they are already thinking of 2023 or 2020, the next elections. You are saying releasing of funds. Let me take you again. Why we are very, very frustrated. Let me go to my institution, the university, for instance.
Okay.
We were promised that we're going to be mainstream since January. We were told that they are going to clear all the backlog of allowances and that they've released the funds. Where are the funds? I mean, sincerity, honesty. Look, we need just 3 acronyms. Merit should be pursued to the latter. Pragmatism, it doesn't mean you should be capitalistic or socialistic. Isolate ideas from different climes that can drive development. Development not in terms of growth of the economic indices. We are talking development in terms of how it impacts on the quality of life of the people. Then thirdly,
okay,
our leaders should be honest.
Okay, let's look at the president's speech, the presidential speech.
Yes.
And the promises made, even the creation of the new ministry. I want to believe that your opinion is different from that of Kingsley Omoyele.
Yes, I differ a little from them because actually the cause of our backwardness, why things don't move, is because they are not done on merit. They are done on quota system. And the quota system is the one that brings the argument. For example, this minimum wage is mentioning. The delay in the implementation of minimum wage is that the labor unions don't want the minimum wage of junior workers to be paid, as federal government was very willing to pay that immediately. They are saying that they should pay all together, the big and the small. People on level 16, 17 should be paid with those on level 6, level 5, level 4. And the across board. But the details of or the workability of the higher wages have not been worked out. How it will affect, how the 30,000 will affect the other cadres of workers.
Which shouldn't be hurriedly done.
Which should be hurriedly done. It should be done because it's going to take time to begin to say, okay, you were on level 10 before. Now you are not on level 6. This is the way this 30,000 will affect you. That is what is delaying it.
But wasn't the government supposed to expect this?
Government is not as
was it like a surprise to the government?
It's very, very big surprise to them that the labor union didn't allow them to pay the minimum wage to those who need it most, who needed it most, junior workers, level 3, level 4, level 1. But the bigger salary earners, labor unions are insisting that they should work all of them together and pay, and that is taking them time to work out, which is wrong. They should have done it. Those who needed this money most are the people at the lower cadre.
Okay, so you are not in support of the direction of the labor union?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yes.
You are in support of the government?
Of the government, because the government should be allowed to. Those people who are living, who are earning well, like these professors, they are living well already, and they should give the people who don't earn well time to earn their money. But that is the thing that is blocking it, and it now appears that nothing was done.
But ab initio, is that how it has been done? ab initio, is that how it has been done? When there is an increase in the minimum wage, is it not supposed to cut across board at a particular percentage?
Well, I don't. I won't say. Yeah, I'd not take notice of how Udoji was worked out, and so I didn't take notice of it. Okay. But I believe that I have sympathy for the junior workers more than these big gun professors.
Okay. That aside, let's look at the intervention programs of government.
Intervention program of the government,
like the homegrown school feeding program, where the president did say the ongoing 500 billion naira earmark for it is still what they want to step
The implementation is very slow. It's too slow. For example, I don't think it has reached Edo State.
But you see the whole process as a laudable one.
Correct, very laudable one. Because we even enjoyed free meal in our schools when the colonialists had not gone. We're being fed in the afternoon, free. And it has not ever happened before in Nigeria. When the colonialists left, they stopped it. All these, like this, all these advantages was put to a halt. And then people are now trying to bring it. But they ought to introduce it fast. It's not it could be piecemeal, but it should be once.
Okay, once. Thank you. Dr. Isaiah Siko.
Thank you.
Let's look at the project of government in terms of, because just in the presidential speech, he also made it clear that they are working on the Ogoni cleanup in order to address the environmental challenges facing that region. What do you make of that in this direction?
Well, the cleanup is a good one, but just like I said, the level of implementation is always the issue.
Very slow.
Due to bureau pathologies?
Well, no, but
bottleneck system.
Yeah, bureaucracy and all that. And I listened when they were talking about oil production and protection of the facilities for the production of oil. But we continue to emphasize this oil production, and we're not talking about diversification. Even oil-rich countries like Saudi Arabia have investments all over the world.
But the present government or President Muhammadu Buhari has been on. Now, are you saying that results are not coming out from there? Because there are reports that even the non-oil sector has outweighed that of the oil sector recently. How do you make that?
Let me tell you, I'm personally worried. Like I said, growth and indices of growth and actual development are not the same thing.
Okay.
You know, if you say, oh, there's an increase in productivity, and here there's increase in unemployment. Now there's increase in productivity, you cannot pay 30,000 minimum wage.
It doesn't matter.
How do you correlate it? If there's increase in productivity, there'll be increase in employment, there'll be increase in income, and you want to meet your expense, your fiscal expenditure, both recurrent and capital. But my worry is this: we're not taking diversification seriously as a nation. We're talking about minimum wage now, but we're not asking if oil dries up tomorrow, how are we going to pay salary? Now, rich oil countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Jordan, even Iran that is troubled, have a lot of investments all over the world. What they do, they say, they diversify. Now when you look at, there's trade war now in America and China, what are they trading on? Agricultural produce, pork, vegetable, milk. What are we trading on in this country? We don't trade on anything. So I want to summarize by saying we need a serious national orientation. First, to educate our people, Nigerians, to be alive to their responsibility. And what should be the responsibility? We should task the agencies that are responsible for the conduct of election to please help us to be conducted a free and fair election. That's a starting point.
So make the electoral process.
Yes, that is a starting point. So you have opportunity to choose your councillor.
Yes.
But the system we have now is it's just a bolt down system. You can't choose your councillor. You can't choose your council chairman. They're selected in the government houses. Let House have an electoral system. Let the citizens take up this responsibility. Someone will say, when you were there, yes, when I was there, if I was doing wrong, please challenge me. Hold me to my responsibility. The Nigerians should be educated to hold this agency, because they are destroying the country.
Okay.
If you cannot choose your councillor, you cannot choose your House Assembly member. 24 people have been elected, 14 are stay at home. They can't be sworn in. Because it has become a personal house. It is a parliament of the state.
Okay, but some have argued that instead of having it in the hands of the state electoral body, yes, it should be handled by the national body.
Even if you have it in the local body, even if you have it in the local body, and we are responsible as citizens of Nigeria, even if it is local electoral commission, the men and women should be able to conduct a free and fair election for the locality to choose their councillors. So I do not see anything wrong with the ESEC. I see something wrong with the mentality. Those who are supervising them are just criminally minded to subvert the system.
And that seems to be
yes,
a
we should be minded to allow ESEC to work to conduct a free and fair local government election. And they should, for Christ's sake, Professor Mood, whoever is there, they should, this country is going. If you can't choose your councillor, you can't choose your house assembly, you can't choose your senator, you can't choose the governor, you're just joking. That is the first foundation. If we do that and we emphasize merit, merit is important. All nations grow on merit. Not on mediocrity. All nations grow on merit. They choose their best brains to pilot the affairs of the economy, of industry, of that's why you can't lecture in the university when you are just a quack. You say this is for merit. That's why the universities are still standing, because you can't just throw in there and fool yourself. Let's not equally implement that in all sectors of our general society. Let's emphasize merit. If you have merit and we have rule of law, irrespective of who you are, obey the constitution of Nigeria, they will have a certain point. Now we do not have fair and fair election, we do not have merit, we don't have rule of law, we have not started laying foundation for development in this country.
Okay, thank you. You said that was a summary, and I take that as your final words on this. And looking at that, it just brought issues to my mind. I really wanted to have this discussion on the electoral process. But as we round off, Dr. Barrister Eddie Osifo, let's look at the templates set by legislative interventions to reform our electoral laws. As we round off, are you saying that they are working well, or should there be much improvement?
No, there are still very many gray areas in the electoral law.
Okay.
Which should be implemented as quickly as possible before 2023.
Okay.
Actually, I could say there were improvements in 2015. It's no longer easy to rig elections as it used to be. Carrying a box to your room and filling it with ballot papers, printing it alone and filling it and bringing it out and counting it. It's not as easy as that now.
Okay, but they are saying that there's a new method of rigging, whereby the figures the polling on some polling units can be decided or looked at in order to determine what party loses or wins.
No, I don't think that is existing. If it is existing, I don't know about it.
Okay.
Because I cannot see a bevy of agents looking at things there. I mean, I know what it is on election day. On election day, you cannot afford, everybody's eyes are red. You cannot afford to do any wrong thing. Whether you are an inspector of general police, they will abuse you and tear your dress. So it's not true that they could talk of another figure when the correct figure is left, and you announce the wrong figures and say the man has won. They will tear you there.
Okay, your final words, because I know that there will be
a
reaction from Professor Kingsley.
Yes, I agree with Professor Isaiah Osifo that merit should be the basis that merit should be the basis of everything. That was the way it was in the First Republic. That was why those who had merit were not fighting the government. They were not agitating. Everything was based on merit, and that was what the nationalists taught us too. We abandoned it and started using quota system. Whether your people are qualified or not, you must bring somebody there to be governor. It is wrong. But I'm not saying that I'm kicking against the rotational system. Like we had president in the north now, the next people should be the south, and there should be no debate about it at all.
Okay.
Because we have enough people to be able to do that, we have people to be chosen to occupy the position. But again, when it comes to the micro areas, smaller areas of the people, if they have nobody, choose the meritorious person, person who merits it, not a mediocre. So we should drop mediocrity. The Igbos were happy because they were allowed to exercise their ability that time in the First Republic.
Okay.
And the Midwest or the Old Bende were very, very happy. We were leading in most things. A number of entry in secondary schools were leading.
Okay.
Sports were leading.
Okay, thank
because things were based on merit.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Eddie Osifo.
Yes.
Now, let's take your bite on the electoral process as we round off. Do you see the electoral process as clean enough, or what reforms can be brought on?
It can get better.
It can get better.
I think
through legislative interventions.
In fact, legislative intervention, the court system, the judiciary should be bold and brave enough to make judgments, and of course, like what Dr. Isaiah mentioned, the rule of law. And the NOA, the National Orientation Agency, should ensure that they do their job, because we have a docile population. And why are they docile? It's because of poverty. And that's why the politician can just come, sprinkle just minute wheat, and everybody seems to be bought over.
Okay.
So if the populace are gingered and they speak truth to the world, that's the NOA does the right job, then of course Nigeria will fly.
Thank you, Professor Kingsley Omoibo, and of course Dr. Ezael Sifo.
Thank you.
And the Barrister at Law, Edio Sifo. Thank you for coming through, and I wish you a beautiful day ahead of you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
This is why we call it a wrap on this segment. It's still Nigeria at 59, prospects and challenges.